Call of the Desert. Elliot tightened his grip on the map in his hand, its edges frayed and marked with cryptic notes Nathan had scrawled. The coordinates led deeper into the desert, far beyond where most dared to venture. Stories of travelers who disappeared, their skeletons found years later half buried in the shifting sands, were all too common. "You better be alive out here," Elliot muttered under his breath. As he trudged forward, the wind picked up, whipping sand into the air. The heat bore down on him like a physical weight, but something about the path ahead tugged at his mind. The landscape, though desolate, seemed to hum with an unseen energy. Strange rock formations cast eerie shadows, and the silence, broken only by the occasional gust of wind, felt oppressive. Hours passed. Elliot's canteen was nearly empty when he stumbled across something unexpected. A campsite. The remains of a fire lay cold and scattered, surrounded by empty cans and a torn blanket. Elliot crouched down, his heart pounding as he picked up a rusted pocket knife he immediately recognized. It was Nathan's. "Damn it, Nathan," Elliot whispered, his voice shaking. The sight of the knife was both a relief and a warning. His brother had been here, but for how long? And then he saw the tracks, footprints leading away from the campsite toward a narrow canyon in the distance. The Canyon of Whispers. The canyon walls rose high on either side, their surfaces etched with ancient carvings. Kangaroos, snakes, and strange, indistinct figures danced across the stone, their meanings lost to time. Elliot couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. The air grew cooler as he ventured deeper. The oppressive heat of the desert was replaced by an unsettling chill, and the faint sound of trickling water reached his ears. Elliot quickened his pace, hope sparking in his chest. Water meant life. It meant Nathan might still be alive. As he rounded a bend, the canyon opened into a hidden valley. In its center stood a pool of water, impossibly clear and shimmering with an unnatural light. The eternal spring. Nathan's notes had been right. It existed. But Elliot's joy was short-lived. The warning. At the edge of the pool stood a figure, tall, thin, and draped in tattered clothing that looked as if it had been worn for centuries. The man's skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "Who are you?" Elliot called out, his voice echoing across the valley. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face both hauntingly familiar and impossibly aged. Elliot gasped. "Nathan?" The figure stepped closer, and Elliot staggered back. It was Nathan, but not as he remembered. His brother's youthful features were now sunken and lined, his hair streaked with gray. "Elliot," Nathan rasped, his voice cracked and hollow. "You shouldn't have come." "What happened to you?" Elliot demanded. "What is this place?" Nathan gestured to the pool, his hand trembling. "The spring, it's not what you think. It gives life, but it takes more than it gives. I drank from it, Elliot. I thought I'd found the answer, but it's a curse." Elliot stared at the water, its surface rippling as if alive. "A curse? What do you mean?" Nathan's eyes filled with despair. "It traps you, keeps you alive, but you don't age the same way. Time bends here, twists. I've been here for years, Elliot. Decades, maybe. I don't even know anymore." The true cost. Elliot backed away from the pool, his stomach churning. "We'll leave. We'll get you out of here." Nathan shook his head. "You don't understand. The spring doesn't let you leave. Once you're marked by it, it follows you. It pulls you back." As if to prove his point, the wind rose, howling through the canyon. The carvings on the walls seemed to glow faintly, and the water in the pool began to ripple violently. Elliot felt a tug, not physical but something deeper, pulling at his mind and soul. The whispers started, soft, insistent, like a siren's call. "Come closer," they urged. "Drink, be free." Nathan grabbed Elliot's arm. "Don't listen to them. They'll promise you anything, but it's all lies. I've seen what it does. It makes you a prisoner." A desperate choice. The ground trembled as the pool's glow intensified. Shadows began to emerge from the water, indistinct forms with hollow eyes and elongated limbs. They moved slowly, their movements jerky and unnatural. "What are they?" Elliot asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Others," Nathan said. "People who drank from the spring and lost themselves. They're not alive, not dead, just stuck. Elliot's heart pounded as the shadows moved closer. He pulled Nathan toward the canyon entrance, but the shadows blocked their path. "We have to fight," Elliot yelled, but Nathan shook his head. "There's only one way," Nathan said, his voice breaking. "You have to destroy the spring." "How?" Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small pouch. "Salt from the desert itself. It can neutralize the spring's power, but..." He hesitated. "It'll destroy everything, including me." Elliot froze. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," Nathan said, pushing the pouch into Elliot's hand. "You have to do this. End it, for both of us." The tragic end, Elliot hesitated, his mind racing. The shadows were closing in, their whispers growing louder, more desperate. "Drink," they hissed. "Stay. Live forever." With tears streaming down his face, Elliot threw the pouch of salt into the pool. The water hissed and bubbled, its glow fading as the shadows let out an unearthly wail. Nathan smiled faintly as his body began to dissolve, his form breaking apart like dust in the wind. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice carried away by the breeze. Elliot fell to his knees, the weight of what he'd done crashing down on him. The valley was silent once more, the pool reduced to a dry, cracked basin. As he stumbled out of the canyon, the desert stretched out before him, vast and unyielding. The spring was gone, but its whispers lingered in his mind, a haunting reminder of what he'd lost. And in the distance, the wind carried a faint echo, low, mournful, almost human.